Welcome into Levi's Stadium, where it might actually be warmer than it is in Houston right now. Beautiful day, no rain in the forecast. The Texans are coming off a beautiful 2-game win streak themselves, and over a dozen players return to the active roster off the COVID list. It's week 17, and an embarrassment of riches in the Bay Area. Davis Mills will get his #1 target in Brandon Cooks back. He's just 55 yards shy of breaking the 1,000-yard receiving mark for the second year in a row. And on defense, the Texans sack leader and Jonathan Grenard returns to the field after missing last week with COVID. Can they play spoiler to an 8-7 49ers team making a playoff push? We've got those answers. A one-on-one with Jacob Martin plus Texans legend Jonathan Joseph joins us in the studio today. Texans Unlimited presented by Verizon starts now.
We are ready to rock in Houston.
Touchdown, Houston!
Are you kidding? What a catch. Oh, baby.
Welcome in. It's week 17. Happy New Year. And I've got a very familiar face joining me today. 15-year veteran, Texans legend, Jonathan Joseph. Welcome in. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Glad to be here.
So excited to have you on the pregame show. I know you retired, but we wanted to get you back in to get your thoughts on this Texans team and everything going on. How much of the games have you been watching? What have you thought so far of Davis Mills and this team?
I think obviously it's been a tough and trying year for them. Young team, a lot of new faces. But I think the chances Davis Mills been given as a rookie quarterback, I think he made good on it. I think obviously just getting adjusted to the receivers, tight ends, and the backs. It's been a little trying for him because you had guys that have been injured, guys been out for COVID, just different reasons throughout, a season like this. So I think, and obviously they haven't been winning every game, so it's tough also. And, with a guy like Tyrod being out and not being there, sometimes you need a veteran there to help you out along the way. So when he's had his opportunity, I think he's done really well. Those last few games he's been putting together, he's been doing a lot, and obviously been winning those games. So I think this back stretch is big for him, with the momentum heading into next year.
Yeah, and we have Tavir Thomas, who you saw, he got a pick 6 last week, was named AFC Defensive Player of the Week. You actually had that honor. I think you were the last DB to get that honor with a pick 6 back several years back. What have you thought about the secondary? They've changed out a lot of guys this year, but they've been getting after it.
For sure. I think, like you said, you look at the beginning of the year to now, the guys that they have, I think it's been, a little overturned back there, but I think they're trying to get the right unit that plays together as far as communication. A guy like Justin Reed, who's been a vocal leader back there, the spiritual leader, just, brings the energy. And they've been opportunistic to get turnovers, like you seen last week, to get the player of the week. And anytime you have a team like this, that will help you win games with a young quarterback. So if they can put that all together, with the tip balls, overthrows, applying pressure up front, tying the back end with the front end, I think they'll do really well.
Yeah, and you see Brandon Cooks there, number 13 in the end zone warming up. Davis Mills gets him back. You went against him a few times in your career. You've met him as well. What have you thought about Cooks and what he's been able to put together, especially with 2 quarterbacks this year and all the changes that they've had?
I think it shows he's a complete #1 receiver. I think throughout the years he's been labeled as just, a vertical speed guy. He's always produced 1,000-yard seasons. He's a great guy in the locker room as well, big guy in the community. So I think he's a guy that you can build and have the young guys look up to and build around him as well. So I'll be looking forward to see him getting this 1,000-yard season back-to-back. He's always produced, take care of his body, so he deserves everything that comes his way.
All right, well, let's get into some of your quick hits of the week. Davis Mills gets his 10th career start today. In his last 3 starts, Davis Mills has thrown 5 touchdowns and just 1 interception. He also threw 2 touchdown passes in last week's big win over the Chargers. Mills was talking this week about how much he's grown since his first start in week 3.
It's definitely grown. Obviously, the coaches are still the ones out there calling the plays, and I'm just echoing it to the team and making audibles or changes at the line if needed within the scheme. But I mean, I think the most growth in that regard is just my knowledge of the offense, being able to go out there and play fast rather than having to hear a play call and then try to picture it in my head, think of what step drop I have, things like that. So I'm just able to go out there and play faster, and I guess that leads to better execution.
And rookie Trey Lance, he'll make his first home start with Jimmy Garoppolo out with a thumb injury. The number 3 overall pick is someone that Lovie Smith's defense has been watching all week and preparing for.
First off, Trey, I think he started earlier and he played a half of an earlier game. So we have some video of him to kind of know exactly what type of player we'll be playing. There is a difference between he and Jimmy, but we like to think that our defense is flexible enough. You get in the game and you kind of see what an offense is doing, and if you need to make adjustments, you kind of do it from there. But he has a different skill set. He's more of an athletic quarterback, strong arm. To get drafted that high, we're playing a lot of those high draft picks that have great futures ahead of them. We just hope it doesn't really start this week. And Debo, you asked about Debo also, is that correct? He does it all. Of course, he can line up a lot of different spots. Through the years, there have been athletes like that they could line up in the backfield. So you have to have a plan for them if they're being used primarily as a running back. He can line up, of course, in all of the wide receiver positions. Strong runner. After he gets the ball in his hands, tough guy to bring down. Just one of the best players in the league. Be a big challenge for our group.
And this week, former teammate and good friend of Jonathan Joseph's, the Texans legend and all-time great Andre Johnson got one step closer to the Hall of Fame. This week, Johnson was named a finalist for the 2022 Hall of Fame class. It'll be announced the week of the Super Bowl. David Coley never coached Andre Johnson, but he talked about what a wow factor he brought when he played on the field.
He's had a bunch of wow factors during his career. And, he was big, he was strong. He was the total package. I'm talking about tough, everything that you would want in a right. He's the prototype wide receiver in this league, coming through that time he did. And his consistency from the start to the end, he was just as productive at the end as he was at the start. He is what you would actually want if you wanted to draw up one. This is the kind of guy you'd want to draw up to be a wide receiver for you. And plus, he was a tremendous person too. Off the field. And I just remember him in college. We knew he was going to be special, and he's been special. And he's been special enough to be nominated for the Hall of Fame and well-deserved.
All right, we're here. Jonathan Joseph joining me on Texans Unlimited, presented by Verizon. We're chatting about Jimmy G, a guy that will not be playing today for the San Francisco 49ers. Jonathan saw quite a bit of him. Let's get into some of our inactives for today's game. Let's start with the Houston Texans inactives. There you see them: Deshaun Watson, Crevon LeBlanc, Chris Smith, Derek Rivers, Malik Collins, who came off the COVID list on Friday, but is inactive for today's game. And then for the 49ers, the big one there, Jimmy Garoppolo not playing today. And there you see the rest of the 49ers inactives. The one name that's missing, running back Eli Mitchell. He leads all rookies in scrimmage yards. He is active for today's game. He was questionable after being limited in practice this week. And there you see Texans players, the defense, warming up in the end zone for today's game. Jonathan, you've played against rookie quarterbacks, you've played against veteran quarterbacks. How does that change for the defense today, knowing that you're playing against a guy who's only had one start so far this year and now his second start?
It's tricky because you don't have much film to go off. So you kind of have to dig up college film and things like that to try to get, his tendencies, what he liked to do, what he's comfortable with. And then that the playbook probably will be, simple. And, it won't be as much, they'll make it kind of cut down for him. So you just have to stick to the basics and don't get, eyes in the wrong place and things like that, because when you do have a young quarterback, you can get turnovers off of him and put him in bad situations to where it can be advantages for the defense.
And you've got so many weapons on offense for the 49ers. You've got George Kittle. You've got a guy like Deebo Samuel, who's a wide receiver but leads the team in rushing touchdowns. He gets so many yards from scrimmage. What's it like covering a guy like that can sort of run the ball, catch the ball? He can line up everywhere. And Kyle Shanahan does a really good job of, you never know where guys are going to line up. It seems like guys in their position are not lining up in their position. He moves things all over the place.
Yeah, I think you said it perfect. When you have a guy like Deebo Samuel that can do multiple things, defenses just can't key on him. Because if you have a corner that you want to lock on him all game, now when you put him in the running back at tailback, you don't want that corner lining up at middle linebacker to be taking on ISOs and toss cracks. So I think, they have a very different ways they can put him in the backfield, in the slot, and he's scoring multiple touchdowns every game, and he's unstoppable. Probably have a chance to be an MVP candidate this year.
All right, let's get into some of your fan questions. We've got some specific to Jonathan Joseph. I want to thank everyone watching. Joe in the UK, German Texan, Roberto in Italy, Javari in Miami. We've got YouTube fans in Sacramento, California. And Adam wants to know, JJ, what was your most memorable road win?
Road win? I think going back to Cincinnati. I went back to Cincinnati. Just
Which
going
one?
back.
There
I think the
been a
very
couple of
first
big
time,
ones.
my first year in Houston, going back to Cincinnati. And I'm going up there and winning that game, just the emotions, just, me coming from Cincinnati as a free agent, coming over here and kind of changing the landscape of our team into a playoff caliber team, and then just going back there to beat Cincinnati to kind of advance and things like that. It's just one of those moments. I remember how just the joy and excitement, the moment, the feeling we had in that locker room, celebrating those type of things is just a feeling you can't, get out of your head.
Clinching the playoffs for the first time in franchise history against your former team, up on the road. I mean, yeah, you can't be. That was such a fun season anyway, just because, you remember the first time this team made the playoffs. You were part of that first playoff experience. Forever and ever, you'll remember what that felt like running out of the tunnel for the first time in a playoff game for the city. For
sure, because, I had a chance to go when I was in Cincinnati as a young player, and, you just kind of find your way in the league and you're part of it. And then when you're a veteran, you have a totally different look on it. And I think right then and there, I'm looking down and trying to guide the young guys in the right direction and, get the team over the hump. So it was definitely a special feeling.
All right, Jordan wants to know, what is the defensive game plan for the 49ers rushing attack? And we talked about a little bit earlier, we've got Elijah Mitchell, you've got Deebo Samuel, but just for this defense, it seems like they've struggled against the run at times this year. What would be a good game plan for them today?
I think our defense, the way we play, and I don't want to speak before then everything happens, but playing a zone defense is like perfect for what the 49ers do. They obviously is a zone attacking defense, downhill slashing. Like you said, put Deebo Samuels in there, get a lot of different movements. So I think the style of defense we play from a zone, not aggressive, sit back, everybody have their eyes on the formation, I think kind of plays into their hands. So now we won't get with those misdirection plays, guys coming out the backfield and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. You got to still wrap up and tackle. So I think, this defense flies to the ball, you get 11 hats to the ball, that can always help.
And Trey Lance is really good with his legs as well. What about when you have a quarterback that's really mobile?
It's even more dynamic because, obviously you had a guy like Garoppolo that, he wasn't going to run it as much. He can run it, but you don't have the same threat of taking it 50, 60 yards for a touchdown like a guy with Trey. So it'll be interesting to see how they would use Trey. It's a different dynamic in the backfield with putting a guy like Deebo or any of those running backs that they have. But I think it'll be a tough task for any team. But I think, like I said, I like to see how the Texans start out just limiting the big plays.
All right, German Texan wants to know, what do you think of the Texans Corners? And that's a pretty loaded question because we've had a lot of corners this year. Lonnie Johnson returns as a corner. Desmond King, we talked about, Tavir Thomas, some of those guys. What have you thought of the, I'll say, how about the secondary in general, how they've been able to really come together in the last few weeks especially?
I think last few weeks they've been playing some really good football because obviously, early in the year, it's not even the same guys out there from in the beginning of the year. I remember a few games ago, I don't know exactly which game, but I remember Desmond King got his first interception in like 2 years or something to help that big win there. And I think anytime you see a DB get his hands on the ball, especially me, myself, I'm excited because I just know how rare those opportunities are. And I think now those guys are playing with a little more confidence and believing in themselves and playing as a unit. So we'll see how it carries over for today.
What have you thought of all the takeaways this defense has gotten, especially after last year? There were 9 turnovers total. Lovie Smith comes in, and we all know that Lovie Smith preaches takeaways, but to actually go out and be able to get as many, I think 11 different players have had a takeaway this year. What have you thought about the job they've done getting the ball?
I think a great job. I think anytime you see different guys like you said, it speaks to a guy like Lovie because he's putting guys in the right position. He's having guys starting to believe in what he's preaching. And I think when you have guys see other guys get it, it makes those guys play even harder because they think they have a serious chance. It's coming. I'm the next guy. So I think, with the pass rush, those guys, Jacob Martin and the rest of that unit up front, applying pressure to a young quarterback, we should have multiple chances today because they like to throw the ball inside. So hopefully get hands up, tip balls, and things like that.
It seems so easy. It just seems like, okay, we'll just go after the ball and punch it out. But it's like it takes a guy like Lovie Smith to come in, and then it really just takes off. I'll be honest, when they said, we're just going to go after takeaways, I thought, but isn't that what every defense says every single year? But there's just something about Lovie's methodology, isn't there, that
it's a style. It's the more you talk about it, you preach it each and every day. I've been on teams where you go into the locker room, they have a ball punch out. In every meeting room, you walk in, everybody just punches the ball when they walk through the door. And now it becomes second nature. When you just run to tackle a guy, you just naturally punches at the ball. And you see it happen over and over and time again. And now you start to watch these games and you see some of the same things that starting to translate in these turnover drills in practice. You do it each and every day. And it's all about the style of defense you want to play. Like when he said he preaches turnovers, I'm pretty sure 75% of practice is put on emphasis turnovers.
Now, Logan wants to know, how many takeaways do you think the Texans will get along those lines?
Today?
Yeah, you have any
I
predictions?
think three.
You want 3 takeaways?
3 takeaways.
I like that. I like that a lot. I think it's totally possible. There you see number 54. He's back on the field. He was on the COVID list against the Jags. Jacob Martin this year, 4 sacks, 5 tackles for loss, 6 quarterback hits, a pass defense, and 2 forced fumbles through 14 games. Our very own Drew Doherty had a chance to catch up with him earlier this week.
This pregame interview is powered by Reliant. We've got defensive lineman Jacob Martin with us. Jacob, it's great to be with you. And you guys are getting set for a game against the 49ers. We're going to get into that in just a sec. But let's start things off with this. 3 takeaways last Sunday. I know that's the goal each Sunday, but how sweet was that to be a part of that as a defense? And how much sweeter was it to finally see you guys get in the end zone for the first time this year?
Oh man, that is huge. Lovey's big on takeaways. He's even bigger on defensive scores. And to have TT join me as a defensive scorer, I recorded the safety year of the season, so that counts as points.
That's right.
But it was great. Great to see guys step up and fill roles that they weren't typically used to playing. Like I say every Sunday, any given Sunday, it's the best team that shows up. It was awesome to be there and see those guys ball out and be a part of it. It was awesome.
I'm glad you made that distinction because I've actually been good about it. I've said he's the first Texan to score a touchdown on defense this season. You did, of course, get that safety earlier in the year. What have you learned about yourself in this defense this year, who you are as a player?
I think this year, out of all my years I've been in the league so far, this year really reminded me that football is just football. I grew up, through high school, through college, playing true defensive end, not being in coverage very often. When I first got to the league, I was kind of just I'm very versatile. I like to think that I can do a lot, and I can do it all, and I can adapt whatever the system is or wherever the scheme is. And I really think that just proved that to myself, that football is football at the end of the day.
Yeah. And you always seem to be around the quarterback, around the ball. And I know that's been fun to watch, at least here as someone who works for the Texans. But let's talk about this offense you're going against. All signs are pointing to Trey Lance being the guy under center. Jimmy Garoppolo did not even practice on Thursday. So tell me a little bit about the quarterback and facing a rookie and facing a guy with his skill set that you guys have seen a little bit of on tape.
At the end of the day, whether it's Jimmy G or if it's Trey Lance, I just think of it as another quarterback to get after. But with Trey Lance, the kid's special. He has the size, he has the speed, and he has the arm talent. So really, I'm really just excited to play. I haven't played San Fran in a long time. I've been on the Bay Area in a while. I'm also excited just to see Trey Lance play, if he does play, or he's apparently exciting to watch in person. He's awesome to watch on TV. So just a great competitor. Looking forward to competing against those guys on Sunday.
For old people like me, when you watch the 49ers operate, you can't help but be reminded of that Gary Kubiak offense. You see lots of bootlegs, you see lots of play action. Tell me about the 49ers run game. It's pretty impressive if you look at the stats and look at how they've distributed the ball there.
Oh man, they have every run, in the book. This is like real football. When you're playing a pro style, I formation, 21 personnel, 12 personnel type team. They love to use their tight end, George Kittle, another amazing player in this league. Has had a lot of success. And they got a big O-line, big physical O-line. They like to run behind, and that's how they set up those deep shots down the field, is set up off their run game. The real test of any defense is your ability to stop the run. And if you can stop the run and make a team one-dimensional, then the ball is good to have fun.
You just brought up Kittle, and we heard your defensive coordinator, Lovie Smith, talking all about him and raving about him earlier this week. Tell me about another guy who's somebody that you can rave about as well, in Deebo Samuel. He lines up in the backfield and gets 6+ per pop, and then he can get the ball thrown to him as well and do a lot of damage that way. How special a talent is he, and how do you guys have to account for him?
Debo's another special guy. He's not built like your typical wide receiver. Has real big legs. Real strong and fast, physical. After the catch. And they like to use him as much as they possibly can. So just another guy I'm excited to compete against. It's a real test. For our defense, and how we are able to stop these guys and getting them to third and long situations. More favorable downs for our defense. But at the end of the day, man, football's football, baby. We get paid too. They get paid too. Really just looking for another opportunity to compete, man.
There you have it, Jacob Martin. He is back in the mix this week for the Houston Texans. Let's take a look at some of your starting lineups. These are projected starting lineups. So they're based on the depth chart. They're on offense. You've got Davis Mills. You've got Royce Freeman and Rex Burkhead. David Johnson is on the COVID list, so he's out for today's game. Returning is Brandon Cooks, along with Chris Conley, who caught a touchdown pass last week. And your offensive line, you see the return of Justin Britt there at center. Justin McCray moves over to right guard. And you got Lane Taylor back at left guard, so a little bit more of a fortified offensive line. And on defense, your defensive starters, you saw Jacob Martin earlier. He is back along with Roy Lopez, Ross Blacklock, and John Grenard up front. And then you've got Kamu Grugier-Hill. We saw him get carted off a few weeks ago with a knee injury. He's back in the lineup. Christian Kirksey. And instead of Garrett Wallow, we're going to say Neville Hewitt there as the third linebacker. And then your cornerbacks, Desmond King, Terrence Mitchell, and Justin Reed, along with Eric Murray in the backfield. Justin Reed, who watched his brother for so many years there at Levi Stadium. He was really pumped to get to play where he sat and watched college ball. Does that make a difference as a player when you go back to a stadium where you've got some fond memories, you go back and you play? Does that really help in your mentality?
I think, just being familiar with the place, just the feel that you have just as a player, just going back there and just knowing, for me, just walking back into the locker room, just knowing, just hearing some of the familiar places, people calling your name and stuff like that has always made it a lot more easy transition. Going to unfamiliar territory is just different for everyone. Because now you have to go out there and pregame, feel the grass. You have to go out there and just get adjusted to the weather, to just different things. So
I did not get a chance to ask you earlier. We talked about Andre Johnson being a finalist. I mean, you played alongside Andre Johnson. A lot of these players out there in the field were not here when Andre Johnson was playing. But what did you think about him just in his first year of eligibility, getting named one of the 15 finalists?
I think it's big time, as big as it get, honestly, in this league, because that's the ultimate goal, to play, obviously, to win the Super Bowl. But individually as a player, getting that jacket. And I think you look at from the day one he was drafted to the way, he ended his career, what he meant to the city, the team, fan base, the locker room. And then the biggest thing, obviously get you there is the production. He's a generational talent. So, for me, friend, teammate, just everything. I'm a supporter, obviously. But, I'm glad he's starting to get his due in his time. And I think it'd be, tremendous for this organization, for a guy like him to represent it, the first guy in. Obviously, you don't know if it's going to be this year, but eventually, he will get that jacket.
Do you think that he's got a tough road ahead of him, especially being his first year? Also, just the different quarterbacks that he's had. He didn't have like one quarterback throwing to him. You've got Reggie Wayne, who had Peyton Manning all those years. But do you think it's going to be tough for him? And what is it about him that maybe national people don't know that you know about the sort of receiver that he was?
I think that quarterback, case could probably help him and go into his favor. Because just imagine if he had, you talk about a guy like Reggie Wayne or some of the other guys, they have a Hall of Fame quarterback being inducted or already inducted in. He had to find whoever it was available at the time to get the ball to him. Obviously, he had some great years with Matt Schaub and things like that. But I think just the numbers alone, speaks for itself. And when you put the film on, just the way they had the game plan for him week in and week out, all pros and things. But just, a fun fact, like I wouldn't say a fun fact, but people, now you can start to see he's a lot more talkative than people think. And he's a lot more funnier than people. He has a sense of humor. But until you kind of break down that, wall, and it's not really his wall, it's most people's wall of approaching him because
they're terrified to talk to him. It's totally starstruck.
Yes. So I think, me coming in, we just obviously played against each other and we met at a wedding, one of my friends' wedding, but I'm a talkative guy and I don't really mind. So
I was going to say, I think you bring that out in people too. Did you come up with the Big Dog nickname for him?
Yeah.
You came up with it, right? Because then everyone called him Big Dog.
Yeah. Because, in sports, everybody wants to get the name. Like our basketball fan, Glenn Robinson, he's always scoring 35, 40 points. my uncle always, big dog, big dog.
Yes.
So now when I got here, we fed him
went
the
to
ball
Purdue.
so
I know
much.
Glenn Robinson.
Oh,
Yeah.
We fed him the ball so much here, when I was here with Coach Coop, throwing him the ball 18 to 20 times. It's like, that's a big dog. Big dog got to eat. It's like, that's what a big dog is, and that's what it represents. And then, everybody that plays sports understands it, and the name just fitted him himself. When he walks in, he's quiet, like a dog roaming the yard in his territory, like a big dog.
I did love some of our interviews with him, just because you're right, he's so soft-spoken, but when he talks, it's with a lot of intention, and you hang on every word that he says. He is funny. I think a lot of people still don't really see that side of him, but maybe in the Hall of Fame speech, we'll get to see a little bit of that personality come out. We got our fingers crossed. We're going to find out in another month or so. All right, Jonathan Joseph, I got to get your take. This is one of my favorite segments. We do arrival photos, players arriving in San Francisco. I don't know what these look like, so we're going to see them for the first time. All right, Davis Mills, very simple with a long sleeve tee, and Tremon Smith, who dresses his dog up in Louis Vuitton. What do you think of these looks?
I think it's very, very simple. Not too much going on.
No
suits. So that's a new trend now. That's a new trend. These guys starting to take the style to a different level. So I actually look forward to seeing what it's going to be week to week now.
Yeah, because it's unpredictable, right? All right, there's some suits for you. Cameron Johnston, looks like he's just got a jacket. It's not a full suit. And then Jaleel Johnson, we're going hoodie. It's hoodie weather.
It's definitely hoodie weather, but some guys is all about business also. So guys treat it differently. But I think the biggest thing is about your comfort level. Guys want to obviously look clean and be fresh, but at the same time want to be comfortable. That's a long plane ride also.
All right, so if you were playing a game today, let's say you were in San Francisco, what would you be wearing? What would be a game day outfit for you today?
Ooh. It just depends. When I'm playing now, not that I'm playing, I don't even think about fashion, none of that.
Don't?
Obviously I still wear nice things, but I don't put time and energy into what I'm going to look like when I make that walk or the camera, angle and things like that. But it'll definitely be probably not a suit for sure, something nice, something off the rack or something someone sends me.
Did you wear a suit every single game when you were playing, when you were here with the Texans?
It's kind of mandatory.
It was still a thing back then,
it was a
right?
thing
Because
back
I think
then.
it was starting to trend the other way.
Yeah, it was starting to trend a little bit. More younger guys coming in want to be relaxed, and I just think coaches started to give in a little bit, and once you give in, there's no looking back.
There's no looking back. Nobody likes to. Some people just don't like to wear the coat and tie. So you would go. You would go something a little bit more casual. Colorful? Yes.
No, not really color. It just depends, honestly. Like when I would get my suits made, I would not even pick out one. I just tell the girl, hey, you kind of know me now. You just go with it or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And it'll always be one or two that kind of is not what I feel like is me. But at the end of the day, everybody always gives you compliments and says that it looks nice on you, even if it's not you. But I guess for the one time strolling down, or the one occasion that I can wear it to like a wedding or something like that.
And then you wear it then. And Tremon Smith, we saw him a little earlier. He told me that once he wears something on game day, he can't wear it again. So he has to put it in the back of his closet because he's got all these pictures in it. And I totally feel that pain. So it's a lot of pressure.
I'm totally opposite. That's why you see some of my Instagram pictures, I don't take them. Because I have to go, if I go to Atlanta.
I gotta wear this outfit again. I can't be putting this on the gram.
Why not Atlanta and why not LA?
Yeah, I agree.
I got to get at least two out of it, right?
Get at least two. Mix it up a little bit so people think it's a different outfit.
For sure, for sure.
Well, Jonathan, this was such a pleasure having a pregame show with you. I hope that in the future you can come back again. I know we've only got one game left this year, but I want to see you back on some of these shows. It's been a lot of fun.
I'm glad to be on. I actually enjoyed it myself today.
I know. I enjoyed it myself. It's always fun catching up with the original, I call him the original 24, one of the greatest free agent signings in Texans history. Jonathan Joseph, 15-year vet, thank you so much. That's going to do it for Texans Unlimited, presented by Verizon. Thank you so much to Caroline Jordan, Tyler Marcotte, and everyone that worked on this show. And we will be back for a post-game show after the 49ers-Texans matchup. We've got 25 minutes till kickoff, so stay tuned. We'll be right here with some more Texans Unlimited right after the game. Thanks for watching.